You're listening to That Great Manc Pod, Greater Manchester's community podcast. Top one, our kid.
This is Paul Ludden. Welcome to the second Manc Spirit Art Trafford Festival podcast special. Damian and I will be chatting to Aileen Edmunds, who's the head of social impact for Trafford Housing Trust. Now, if you want to know what a housing trust should be like and the difference that they can make to your community, then this is definitely going to be up your street. We'll also be chatting about other stuff like we do. And a bit of a disclaimer at the end here. No members of Take That were hurt in the recording of this podcast. Cheers. Do you know what? That's a perfect analogy for the year we're having, isn't it?
Absolutely is. Absolutely.
Hello, Damian.
Hiya, you all right?
David, I've heard such lovely things about you from Sarah.
Oh, mate, she's ace. She's been really, really helpful, and
That's our Sarah for you.
it was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, right at the start when Lindsay Mallory, when she got fully behind what we were doing and understood it, she introduced us to a load of people, and Sarah was one, and Sarah immediately got it. Do you know what I mean? She fully understood what we're about and stuff like that. So, and she's really she's part of the team now. She's made herself part of the team, whether we like it or not. Do you know what I mean?
And let's be honest, Damien, she does scare us a little bit, doesn't she?
She will love that. She will love that.
Don't tell her. Don't tell her.
No, but she says great things about you too, Aileen, so it's good.
Well, she better do.
You fit in already. I can see the synergy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've only been at Trafford Housing Trust I joined in January, and Sarah was one of the first few people I met, and I was like, there we are. She can be in my tribe. I like her a lot.
She's nice.
She bought us both pads, didn't she, Paul? With instead of to do, it says get shit done.
and we are doing.
Oh, absolutely.
We are doing. Are you having a good day? Is it Aileen?
It is, but
Aileen.
Worse than Aileen.
So have I. Are you having a good day?
No, I'm not. But I'm hoping this is going to turn a terrible day into a great day. Just
that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, that's all right. It's fine. No, I'm looking forward to having a nice chat about lots of lovely things. So yeah, you're going to make it my Friday, I'm sure.
There's it's difficult. There's so much stuff up in the air. Damo and I say all the time is, what we try and do is control what we can control, and all this bollocks that's happening. No, it's. I mean, it's just. I can't get my head around it, to be perfectly honest. I just can't get my head around it. There's going to be no winners in this.
I can't believe how long it's been going on for. It's just relentless, isn't it? I just think I'm really lucky. I've got a job and I've got a house with a little bit of a garden, and I'm just so grateful for that. And hopefully, I'll still have a job in a few months' time, and it will be fine.
I'm sure you will. Listen, if there's one thing we've learned about Trafford Housing, there's certainly they seem to be very staff orientated, and actually doing what they say they're going to do, which is rather than you think. I mean, we're both very, very old, as in me and Damo, and it is really rare to come across certainly an organisation like that where they say, "All right, we go in there and say we're going to do this," and they go, "Okay, go on then." So let's just imagine, right? Okay, you're in shark-infested waters in a boat, right, with every member of Take That, including Robbie. Right, so this is back in the day, and there's sharks swimming around, and the only way that you can help everyone survive is by throwing one of those members to certain death in those shark-infested waters. Who would you choose and why?
I've got no idea, Paul. I don't even know who all the members are.
I mean, if you say Robbie, it's not a problem.
I can't say Robbie because I'm from Stoke, so I can't.
No, you can't say Robbie then. No.
That's the only one I know.
All right, should we say one of the dancers then? There was two of them who were just dancers, weren't they? So you'd throw one of the dancers over to certain death.
Yeah, go on then. Oh no, right. Well, yeah, they're more like fine. They can dance. They've probably got strong legs for swimming. So there you go.
Oh, it sounds more to me that she don't really care which one of them. They can all go in. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, listen, if you can tell us who you are and what you do.
Hello, so I'm Aileen. I'm at the Trafford Housing Trust, and I'm their head of social impact, which is, I guess, a short way of saying that I basically my job is around spotting opportunities where we can do more for our customers and our communities, and how we can make it happen. That's what I'm all about. So about what you two do, so I'll get a bit of context, and then that'll be really handy if that's okay.
Well, I run what's called Mank Made, which is all about supporting creative talent in Greater Manchester, and I'm also the co-founder of Mank Spirit, the charity. And although the charity is based is a mental wellbeing charity, creativity is at the heart of both. And under the same, we've also got Mank Made CIC, of which Damian is the director of, which is more community based. In terms of the support that we offer, and a lot of it's about opportunities. I think it's certainly Mank Made, and a big part of Mank Spirit is just creating opportunities for people to show what they can do. And also when we talk about mental well-being, for us it's as simple as sticking smiles on people's faces, no matter how we do it, who we upset along the way. As long as it gets done and the right people just can, if, like, for instance, if they go into the sessions, they can just forget about everything for an hour, and either get really focused in what they're doing and pick up a new hobby, or it helps them start talking to other people in the room and they're getting more friends and that kind of thing. But ultimately, especially now, just sticking a few smiles on the faces. But I mean, and Damian and I met through Mank Made. Really, we were doing some. I was an ambassador for a charity he used to work for, and cut a long story short, we just got talking and then decided in Wetherspoons one afternoon.
So where the best ideas happen?
And that's the last time we were in there, and we won't be going in there again either. But we said, you know what? We're sick of people saying what they're going to do and not doing it. Let's set something up and help us, because it's all about our mental well-being as much as anyone else's, because it is pretty stressful doing what we're doing along with everything else. So we also want to do and work with people that we really enjoy working with. And when we do come across the idiots, we can just go, you know what, we're not working with you. And Damien, if you want to.
Yeah, I've been working, trade unions, and then I went into the charity sector a long time ago. I've worked in lots of places, worked on the streets with the homeless in Manchester, and I mean on the streets, not in an office. I've worked on, that was with the homeless sector. I've worked in prisons. Sorry, mate.
Who did you work with when you worked in homelessness?
I was working for Mancunian Way charity, and I worked with the most entrenched on the streets of Manchester, getting to know them, being there for them. Linked in with loads of different organisations. Riverside Housing was the main one, obviously, because they've got the hostels, anyone and everyone. I mean, the Rough Sleepers team with the council. Forgot what they're called. The medical centre that's in Ancoats. Oh, sorry, New Islington.
Union Medical Centre, isn't it? Is it Union?
Urban Village. Urban Village Medical Centre. So I was with them, with the mental health team, with probation, everyone really. It was like but I was out there getting in between all the services and acting as a bit of a broker.
Yeah. Seeing it.
Well, I had a good reputation anyway, because I've worked every unit in probation anyway, so probation knew me. I've worked in the prisons. I've worked in about 5 different prisons. I've worked on therapeutic communities. I've worked on guns and gangs, human trafficking. I've dealt with all sorts of stuff. But I was also, again, like Paul, with my other hat on, I'm actually a consultant, so I do capacity building, fundraising, bid writing, all that sort of stuff for other charities across Greater Manchester and Cheshire. So I write a lot. I still do a lot of that. Various Sahela just wrote another tender for them. That's a South Asian ladies group that helps ladies out of forced marriages, FGM, just escaping domestic violence. So I wrote the tender for them to get another hostel. I'm working with the big community centre over in North Manchester because that was going to be closed down. So the government council cut the grant funding. So we brought in £200,000 in development funding for them, and we're redeveloping that. I get all over the place. I'm a bit of a busybody, but it's part of a really strong network where we all help each other out. And like Paul said, exactly the same. The people that I know and I work with or call on me are the ones that get stuff done. You know, I meet too many people within the charity sector that haven't got a bloody clue, or they're in it for themselves. And I'm not interested. You know, I don't have to be interested. You know, it sounds a bit arrogant and what's it now, but we're both 50 this year. We've both got, Paul's got 3 lads. I've got 2. And one of the reasons we're doing this is to prove to our own kids that you can go out there and do something and make a difference. So that's the legacy side of what we're doing. Manx Spirit, Manx Maid and all that. It's basically me and him say to our kids, oi, look what you can do. But we can only do it by doing it ourselves. It's that, you know, be the change you wish to see in the world. It's, you've got to walk the walk. You can't just chat shit. Yeah. So that's it in a nutshell, really.
And how long have you been at Trafford Housing?
I've only been there since January, so I'm a bit of a Trafford Housing Trust baby. But before then, I've worked in the charity sector for years, mostly in like causes to do with poverty and inequality, both in the UK and abroad as well.
So you mentioned before that you're from Stoke.
I am Stoke girl.
So are you still living in Stoke, or are you in Manchester now?
No, I live in Sale now. So
do I.
There you go. Hello, neighbour. Yeah. Yes, I've hopped around a bit. I've lived in London and other places, and now I've adopted myself as a Mancunian. Haven't quite got the accent down yet, though.
Don't worry about that. You sound so much posher than what we do.
Oh, I don't sound posh at all.
So, yeah, I mean, if you've been, it's strange times, really, then, isn't it, really? If you've only been here since the beginning of the year, and then from March, was it March we entered lockdown?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm lucky, really. So I joined the organisation, at least I got a chance to like meet most people face to face before it all became a virtual world. As one of my colleagues, Jenny, who joined the comms team, she joined, and then the next day it went into lockdown. So I think I'm pretty lucky. I got to see most people before it all closed down, but it has been really weird trying to do a job which involves obviously speaking to lots of people and building relationships through a webcam.
It's not easy.
Haven't you?
It's not easy. So I mean, it's a daft question, but has it massively impacted how you were looking to do things when you got there, or has it kind of? I mean, for us, it's obviously impacted in some ways, but in other ways, it's made what we do even more inclusive. Because there are people who can join the online sessions that wouldn't necessarily either, you know, let's be honest, be asked if they were had to get up and go somewhere. And I'm not talking about, you know, with the stuff that we're doing with yourselves. All they need is a laptop, a phone, and they can join in. So in that way, it's open. It has opened a few more doors to us, and that's something that's going to remain a big part of what we do going forward. I know there's plenty of companies that'll just want to drop it as soon as they can, but that's such a massive mistake. Certainly as far as we're concerned. But how have you coped with that then, in terms of it turning into this virtual?
I think it's interesting, really. I feel like the whole issue around COVID, and we already knew that like Trafford is a place of massive inequality. I mean, there's a 10-year, like you're going to live 10 years longer if you live in the south of the borough than the north of the borough. And I just think we've got like we're a borough of extremes and massive inequalities. And something like this pandemic coming along is just, I don't think it's the main issue for me is seeing that how it's kind of shone a light on those massive inequalities. And I think if you were already struggling, you're struggling even more, and you're going to be impacted so much more. And it's interesting what you were saying about that it's meant that a lot of your services are open to more people because people can dial in. But one of the things that I've really noticed is, you know, that the access to the digital world there's a massive discrepancy there in terms of people's access to that whole digital world. So one of the things we're trying to do at Trafford Housing Trust is to increase that access to the digital world, like whether it's connectivity, access to a device, and then the knowledge to know how to do it. But now is the chance to do it, because like you were saying, people who maybe wouldn't have been disinterested before, that internet's not for me, they're now realising, well, that's how I get to see my grandkids, or how I get make sure my kids still go to school, or, you know, all of those kind of, you know, the face-to-face relationships is so much more difficult now. You know, I've got an elderly father-in-law who's, you know, down in the Cotswolds, and he's got Parkinson's, so we can't really see him because I can't really pass it on. But so the digital side is so important. So he's had to really offer digital skills to be part of that world. And I think now is a chance to kind of use that kind of more openness to digital to kind of get people embedded in that, so they can access all sorts of other things like mental health services, go to the GP, employment and stuff. A colleague of mine was saying that a different housing association had a tenant who'd got a job interview but couldn't go to the interview because he didn't have internet access. So she drove around with her laptop and a dongle, balanced it on his wheelie bin outside so that he could do a job interview. But it's like, so in a way that's really heartwarming, because that was someone going above and beyond. But it's absolutely shocking that someone has is that kind of removed from the world that they need to be part of in order to get by. And I just think we've got a lot of work to do to make sure that you know, if you live in social housing, that you're not excluded from the rest of the world because you don't have the right internet connection or whatever. There's stuff to be done.
No, I mean, you know, we've seen it, and we've also had the discussions where, you know, sometimes I think there's a certain amount of bluntness to it. There may be various people that say, you know what, I've never used that kind of technology and I'm not going to use it. But our attitude to that is, well, you've really got to, because if you don't, you know, if you were isolated before, you're going to be even more isolated if you can't do this. And once people get into it, of any age, it does open up the world. I mean, it opens up a few other issues as well. But yeah, and family, friends, family, but also day-to-day stuff and access to services.
Well, we found one of the major blocks, and and it was the same as me. I mean, my mum lives down in Chester. She's over 70. She's had cancer twice, stuff like that. So I immediately, the first thing at lockdown, what I did was set up a family WhatsApp group with my mum, my aunt and my uncles, the older sort of group, but then me and my cousins as well. Now, me and my cousins keep the conversations going and things like that. But it was like, oh, I don't know how to use this. I don't want to use. Well, you haven't got a choice anymore, ma'am. That's exactly because I can keep an eye on you and I can keep you involved, because that's it. I don't want to lose that connection. And if I can form other ways of connecting. And what we found is speaking to especially older people and the over 55s and things that, that's why we've been focusing on the schemes, Trafford Housing Trust schemes. The block has been the families. It's like, oh, Nan, you don't need a laptop. Oh, Nan, you don't need a tablet. I can sort that for you. Well, no, you can't anymore. Buy Nan a laptop and show her how to use it. But then moving forward and the programs that we're looking at over winter and stuff like that, it's not just about your residents, say, a lady sat in one of the flats in Old Trafford, she's in a complex, but she's in her own room. When we do the creative sessions, it's linking in not only with the people within that scheme, but also our neighbours outside that scheme, But moving forward, what we'd really like to do is involve their families in those sessions.
Yeah,
it's the same as me. I struggle. Say I do a Zoom, you do a FaceTime call with my mum. I've run out of things to talk about. But if we're involved in a creative session together, that gives you something then to talk about after. Oh, that thing that come up, or that drawing you did, or I can't believe you made that out of clay, Nan. That kind of stuff.
We've all got past, Damo.
It's creating opportunities to connect, isn't it? And that's what community is all about. And I think that we've just got to get a bit more inventive with like creating those opportunities. Anyway, like it's really important. Like feeling connected and that you matter gives you confidence, helps your mental health, helps in so many other things. But COVID has just kind of like thrown an absolute like bomb into the middle of that, and it's just really shown the people who weren't isolated before are getting a bit of a taste of what it's like to be excluded and stuck in your house on your own. So empathy.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Before are even more kind of isolated. So I feel like we've got a real duty to do what we can to create opportunities for connection in any way we possibly can, because it's frightening times at the moment. It's anyway, but when you've got to deal with it by yourself, and you want to be able to bounce your ideas off with someone else, or did you see the news? You sat there just talking to the pictures on the wall.
That's come across with. I was lucky enough to before there was the second lockdown. We delivered a couple of sessions in some of the Trafford Housing Trust schemes. So I got a chance to meet some of the scheme managers, and you could immediately see they were struggling too, and they were so worried about their residents, because they're so committed to them, and that's incredible to see. But then what we ended up doing was talking to them and asking them how they felt and how they were going through it, because again, what we do, we're a charity, and too many people focus on the beneficiary and the outcome. What we've said right from the start, and I've done it, I've been a frontline worker that struggled like hell when I've come home and I've drank too much, or because I've been worried about someone that I've worked with. It's working not only with your residents, the families, but also the staff, because it's reaching out to them and saying, look, we value you, we love you, we care about you too, and everything you do. And we get it. My partner's works for the NHS. They got all the claps. Everybody was sending them pizzas, everything else. But it's like, then I go and meet, say, Carol at Limelight, and I'm thinking, this lady's not had any claps. Nobody's turned up and give her a bunch of flowers, and she's an incredibly amazing person that cares so much for everybody. Do you know what I mean?
She really loves the residents, and that's what I think. It's when we talk about our carers, like it's in the name, like they really care, and you take that home, don't you? Like we had our carers going around visiting like our beneficiaries. I hate that term, but you know what I mean. It was going to keep their own elderly mum, so they kept because of like the rules and regulations, and that's really hard, isn't it? And the emotional burden of that, and the fear when you're out on the front line, what you're taking home to your family. But you still show up and do what you can to support the most vulnerable people in society. It's like we absolutely should be cheering on all of our frontline workers. I know in my street we were clapping our bin men as well, because we were like, well, no, they're out and they're facing on the front line, so we were trying to clap everyone we could. So on a Tuesday morning, we're all in the windows having a clap, which was really nice.
No, I mean, it's a conversation we've had. It was, and NHS did an amazing job. There's no two ways about it. But there were so many other people, from working in Sainsbury's, Tesco's, whatever, who went out when we didn't. And again, people have got such short memories. And it would be nice. I mean, caring for the carers, which is another project that we talked about when we first set this up, and now we're actually in a position where we can start making it happen, is a big part of that, is to turn around to these people and say, well, yeah, Damo says it everywhere we go. Well, how are you? And it's like, and then we have a 25-minute conversation with someone who firstly goes, well, because they're very, they've not been asked that for a while, let's say. And then, God, it's, grab a cup of coffee, sit down and have a chat with them for 20 minutes. And that's amazing, because that's making a big difference to them and the feedback we get. And it's probably our nature anyway. We're like, we like a gossip, don't we, Damo?
Yeah, but it's not rocket science, is it? I mean, when you look at, we do it with the council. I mean, right at the start of lockdown, we were talking to a lot of local authorities. And I was talking to, you talk to a commissioner and you're talking about budgets and projects and things like that. But I was actually saying to him, look, forget that. I'm not asking you for any money. I just want to know how you are. And, the things that people were saying, and they were struggling with the kids at home and everything else. And I was saying, look, we care about you too. Without you being well and safe, how can anybody else do the work further down the line? It's like, I'd say, I mean, he used the example of children's services, say, if all the staff in children's services are stressed to high heaven, going off sick, burning out, you're losing the good ones, then you get a worse children's service. So looking after those staff as a charity is the most important thing, because we want to retain the ones that are passionate, that are caring, that are loving, that are, you don't want a load of scheme managers that are burnt out, or like somebody, say a prison officer that's been in the job far too long and they just say no to everything. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Showing kindness and love where we can at the moment, and that's the only way we can combat this is you've got to have a bit of hope, and that comes from just showing a bit of love where you can.
People are scared of using that word as well, Aileen, and it's
that's why, like, that's what makes us human. Like, we're not robots, are we? Like,
do you mean the L word?
Yeah.
We said, do you know what we say? I mean, I've got 3 boys, and I've got a very loving mum and dad, but there wasn't a lot of "I love you" thrown around. It just wasn't. Whereas now, it's like in every conversation, it's just not. You don't even think about it, and I don't know why that is. But
I include it in when I write a funding bid for the charity or something like that. I say in there, we are doing this project because we love the people we're working with. I know this technical stuff. I know you're ticking boxes. I know them kind of things. But I'm not ashamed to put in there the reason we do this is because we genuinely have a love for the people of Greater Manchester. And that's
most of them.
Well, there's some of them that end up in shit. We're not talking about that, are we, Paul?
They're the ones who need the extra love because they're pushing love away. They need it even more. Those ones.
You know what? Even as the co-founder of a charity, some people just, they're beyond that.
Every day is a new day, and everybody gets a second, third, fourth, and fifth chance, don't they, Paul?
Yes, they do, Damian. So,
sorry, go on.
Aileen, what kind of plans have you got in terms of Trafford Housing Trust going forward? That's just. I mean, when we do these podcasts, we try and make them evergreen, which basically means you have a chat, and if someone listens to this in 2 years' time, it's as relevant. But to be honest, this is such a weird world we're living in. We're being more specific than what we've ever been. So, as we're going into the winter, what kind of plans have you guys got for your residents to help them that may or may not include Manx Spirit?
Oh, that we're working with. The plan is to increase our digital inclusion within our scheme. So we're going to be working with you guys to put together a timetable of like really cool and interesting activities to support our residents. And from my perspective, it's we've gone through and we've found out how many of each of our residents already has a tablet or a device they can get online with, and how many don't. And you've got to build it so all the others come. So we can put a flyer under everyone's door and say, there's this great timetable of like all these great activities going on. You go Monday morning, you've got, art class at 10:30. And then Fred next door, he hasn't got a tablet, but he really wants to come to art class. So you just create that demand for it. And then hopefully more and more of them will will want to be part of it. And then it's all the other things like accessing your GP online, mental health support, and being able to Zoom your grandkids and all that kind of stuff that comes with it. But you've got to make it attractive and some people want to do. Like, no one wants to go to I don't know, a digital skills workshop. Like, I'd call that. That doesn't sound very fun or exciting, but I think it's a really brilliant way of just opening up that world of support and connection by making it really attractive. So that's a really great opportunity we're doing within our schemes, which is with Al's University. In terms of other support, we've got we're doing shed loads of different stuff, as you can imagine. So one of the things that we have as an organisation is we've got our foundation, which is where we do all of our extra good stuff. And so we, as when we were acquired by Aileen Edmunds, based in London, the agreement was to set up a £4 million foundation, which is about having that kind of amount to invest in doing more and doing better for our communities. So we've just launched our employment and skills service. So that's not you need to come to Trafford Housing Trust for an interview skills class. There's already shed loads of small charities and organisations across the borough who do brilliant work. So how can we connect our tenants with the services that already exist? So, for instance, we've had a chap who had been rough sleeping, really interested in getting back into education. So through then looping him into other organisations, he's now going to do university courses. And then there's other people who are like interested in changing their career. And Nikki is fabulous, who works in our foundation team. And it's just kind of exactly what you were talking about earlier, Damian, about being that kind of advocate and that kind of that broker between a person and all the services. That's how we kind of want to exist, because we don't want to replicate what the brilliant VCSE sector is doing across the borough. What we want to do is make sure we're supporting that through our, we give about £2 million a year in community grants. We want to support those organisations, and we want to loop our people into that support. And maybe where there are some gaps, then we can commission that or set that up ourselves in-house. So it's literally just about realising we're part of a wider ecosystem. And I think sometimes if you're having hard times, or you're particularly vulnerable, or you're struggling, you don't have the energy to go and find out where all this support and stuff is. So that's what we're about, is about being that family and that love around our tenants, to loop them into where they can get that help that they might need, whether that's where you can get a food parcel, where you can find your white goods for cheaper, how you can get back into work, where you can get mental health support. It's about being that friend to each other.
See, that's an absolute perfect fit. It sounds like you've read my business plan that I've not written. Honestly, 100%, every word for word of what you just said is what Manx Spirit is, because we said we'll go everywhere in Greater Manchester, we'll support. We know these fantastic community groups out there. We know these fantastic community champions out there, but they're isolated, or they've got a silo mentality where it's like, these are my participants, you're not having them. And it's like, I do it all the time in my capacity building work. And I say to people, look, you can't be like this. You've got to collaborate. You've got to move on. You've got to move forward. You've got to work together. And again, by setting up this charity, by setting up Manx Spirit, we're proving that, because moving forward, we've started, this is the Our Trafford Festival. We've already had a load of people get in touch that we didn't know existed. We've given them a platform. And a lot of people look at us and go, nah, this can't be real. You're up to something, you what's it? And I was like, no, seriously, we're giving you a platform. We've gone and done the hard work. We're giving you the opportunity. Because for exactly the same thing you said, Aileen, we'll go out there, we'll find the amazing groups and people that are already doing great things, and we'll support them and promote them. If they want to develop in a different way, we'll collaborate with them, or we'll form those, we'll broker those, getting the two groups together. Or if it isn't there, we'll create it, and it's that simple. We're not, if we find gaps in provision, then we'll just set up a project up, because that's the beauty of having three amazing trustees, me and Paul, and we have ideas, and we keep each other in check as well, because all of it, well, more me, I'll be honest, are prone to go off on weird tangents at times of going, let's build a community observatory so people can see the universe. And then Paul will go, no, we're not doing that, Damien. That's really not the way to go. So, but then we'll spread that around the Greater Manchester, and share best practice. You know what I mean? That's
where magic happens is with partnerships. So when like COVID first happened, so Councillor Jo Harding, who's one of our councillor in Urmston, she had a meeting. She called together all the VCSE sector came together. Pretty much everyone was there. We were there as well, obviously, because we support the sector quite a lot. And it was literally just like, people are going to really struggle. How are we going to get people going to get food passes, food banks like this? How are people going to get access to mental health support? What are we going to do? And then it's like coming together as a collaboration that we set up like an amazing infrastructure for community response. So, with like thousands of volunteers and the local charities acting as community hubs, because it wasn't like a council top-down approach. It wasn't Trafford Housing Trust just investing money, although we did give over 100,000 to make it happen. It's about that expertise, and our small charities on the ground, they know their communities best. They know the people that are local to them. They understand need in a way that when you're a commissioner, you are by your very nature divorced from that. And it's been a really interesting few months to kind of see how much you can achieve all together, and how much more resilient that is and how much more impactful that is. And certainly I feel like Trafford led the way across GM with our approach to tackling COVID, because it is all about partnership. And that's how we want to work at Trafford Housing Trust. It's not about just trampling over other organisations or setting the agenda. It's about working collaboratively with the council, with local groups, with other parts of GM. And as we are set to, as part of tackling the housing crisis, we're trying to build 20,000 new homes across the northwest. It'll be being collaborative with all the other local housing or local authorities across the northwest as well, because we've got to understand the need and do what needs to be done, really.
And we need to celebrate that success, because we know, I mean, like I say, we work across Greater Manchester in various things. Trafford's response to the COVID with the hubs and the things they did was incredible. And you're dead right. It was a real coming together, and it is a real success story. But then people don't shout about it. People don't get it out there. And again, that's something that we're doing through the Our Trafford Festival, is to say, look at all this great stuff that's going on in Trafford. Because, and I'll go back to what you said earlier, and it is a big part of what me and Paul do. We're fed up of people going, we're born and bred Manx. I'm from I'm from Clayton, Paul's from Moston. And it's like, Manchester's great, it's all thingy, there's no vibrancy, there's no this, there's no that. Well, then do something about it, because that's we're Manx and that's what we do. It comes from music, it comes from art, it comes from, don't let it become grey, So it's that, and Trafford was a difficult one, and I'll be totally honest, because it has a bit of an identity crisis.
Yeah, people don't feel like they come from Trafford in the same way people say they come from Salford, because it's just a place of massive extremes, isn't it? And all sorts of mixtures. I don't feel like it's much harder to have a sense of identity in Trafford, and it'd be great to try and create that. One of the things we've been working on around that is, I don't know if you've heard about it, is the hashtag Future Trafford campaign. Is about trying to get every single resident across Trafford to think about what they want life after COVID to look like, and what can we be doing to support every single person who lives and works in this borough. So whether that's what more can we do around, people are losing work, what can we do as a borough to increase opportunities there? Our children and young people have had a massive blow in terms of their education and future opportunities. What can we do there? And what can we do to really foster and encourage that sense of neighbourliness and community that we've seen through COVID, and what can we do more to support our businesses that keep our economy going? And I'm sure we've got a wealth of brilliant ideas and thoughts and creativity across the borough, and that campaign is all about, a call to everybody to just think, well, actually this would be really helpful, and they can help to shape that. So my little plug is, if you can just Google Future Trafford, you'll find the website that you can to find out about the email, or you can engage through social media through any of the channels at Future Trafford, and just chip in your ideas, because that will help shape where we're going to go in the future, and how we recover from COVID. So we're celebrating a bit of that in the Trafford Festival as well, because all community at the end of the day, isn't it? And where we want to go is important.
Listen, if we've all been through this and we don't come out of it with something really, really positive, and for me, and I'm probably talking for Damo here as well, that's got to be a better sense of community. Whether it's online, face to face, however we do it. If that doesn't happen, then
it's that shared story, Paul, that shared narrative that, you know, you look down, you know, you look around the road through Trafford. At one end, you've got Hale. At the other end, you've got OT, Old Trafford. And they couldn't be much more different. But then you look the other way towards Salford and there's bloody river in the way, you know, and it's like, but everybody's been through this together. Everyone's been, you know, to me, this is the start of that shared story and creating that identity that Aileen talks about through Future Trafford and stuff. And I think the work that we're going to be doing, especially because it's, I mean, to me, it's ideal because you've got the 22 schemes that are in every borough of Trafford. So that gives us immediately
community hubs all over the borough by extension with those schemes. That's how I want to see it grow, to be honest.
Yeah, like Limelight. I mean, Limelight is, to me, I work in various, if I'm out and about, I always work from a community centre or a community hub or whatever. And I drift to Limelight all the time. That's like my office. You know, I don't need anywhere else.
I'll keep an eye out for you because I'm quite often at Limelight as well. And now
I absolutely adore, and I introduced Paul to Limelight, and I said, look, I set my laptop up in here and I'm writing a funding bid and it's all about community. And I look around me and the amount of diversity, ages, kids calling in from school, all different members of different communities are all in one place. We get harassed by the knitting group. We're building up a bit of a thing with the knitting group. I think there'll be a standoff at some point, but you know, that's. But it's the model that everybody should use moving forward. Is the way I see it as a community activist.
I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen, and you know, and maybe they've been around, but yeah, I've never seen. I'm very, very impressed with the whole setup, and there's no reason. Well, there is a reason. It's money, I'm sure, but. There should be several limelights in every single area. And imagine the good you could do.
Well, that's our ambition, is to kind of think, you know, what we're offering at Limelight, there must be a way of us to kind of, like you say, use each of the 22 schemes. It's not going to be as big as Limelight, but there's a way of reaching into communities by being present in those communities and having those networks with the existing charities and you know, faith groups that are already operating locally. Because at the end of the day, it's a kind of, well, I hate the phrase asset mapping, but it's kind of like, what's already there? What do people need? What's the gap? Right, okay, that's our job then. We can hope to try and fill that gap so that our communities and generations can grow up with, to be honest, what I really care about is equal access to opportunities. I think it's an absolute outrage that where you're born can completely dictate where you can potentially end up. Like my dad grew up in council housing. I'm the first kid in my family to go to university, and that's just because I feel like I was lucky and I went to a nice school and I was encouraged to do lots of activities and stuff, you know, happened. But I don't think it's fair that where you're born mean that actually you might not have access to a great education or great opportunities. And I think it's shocking that, you know, we just look at our parliament, how many are private educated, and why should our tenants not have equal access to the whole of what life has to offer just because they're born in Old Trafford rather than in Hale? I just think like it absolutely shouldn't happen that way. And
I was going to say, what's really frustrating is when people say you can be anything you want to be, and you know, you just think, you know what? No, you can't.
No.
Because unless you've got those opportunities, or there's somebody there who's willing to do that for you. Yeah.
So much it is about confidence and feeling like someone believes in you, and I think that's so critical. And I saw a really great video I saw ages ago about that kind of equal access to opportunity, and had some like teenagers about to start a race, and right before it starts, right, who's had breakfast this morning? Right, okay, you're 2 steps forward, something like that, breakfast. Whose parents are in work, and you know, and then you can kind of like say you're growing up with, like you're starting the race from a different from like behind people who've already started like 100 paces ahead of you. And yeah, you might be able to catch up if you're one of the lucky ones, but doesn't mean that you haven't had to work incredibly hard to make up that difference. And I don't think that difference isn't fair. And that's what I'm really passionate about, and that's what Trafford Housing Trust is really passionate about. Like, that's, you know, combating inequality and poverty and sorting out the housing crisis, because if you've got somewhere to live and somewhere to call home, then that's your safety net, isn't it? One of my favourite stories is on my first few weeks. I went out to one of the community centres in Sale, and because we recently funded the Bread and Butter thing, which is a project that helps, like, gives out basically affordable food. And one of the chaps there was, I won't give him his real name, I'll call him Fred. He isn't called Fred, but Fred had come along to volunteer at the Bread and Butter things. He'd literally just moved into a Trafford Housing Trust property, and he was saying that him and his girls had been homeless for like 3 years. So he had worked as a chef, he had worked full time, been made redundant, he'd lost the house, they'd been put into temporary accommodation, had been shipped around from pillar to post for years. That absolutely shot his mental health. He was struggling with anxiety. And he was saying, like, now I've got a home, I feel like safe, I can think again, my girls have got somewhere to go to play. I actually started to sleep again at night. And then his ambition is, well, in this community centre where all this food's coming for delivery, well, I'm going to open a little community cafe, and I want to like cook for the like local people. And then you've got like people coming together, and I just think, how amazing is that? And that's what having this home can do if you feel safe. And that's what we're all about, really, is if you've got somewhere that feels safe, then you've got somewhere to build from. And so many people don't have a safe place to call home, and I don't mean a roof overhead, I mean what home means, which is where you love and you're safe and you just a little sanctuary. So,
do you know what, mate? I think that kind of sums up everything for us. I don't think, I think that's a good place to stop it. Not for no other reason that absolutely.
Well, we've always said,
yeah, it does. It's not. I mean, these things are not. I'm not saying they're easy to do, but if everyone does get their heads together, then they're achievable. I mean, I know there's a fair bit of money behind you guys, but you're spending it. You're not throwing it away. You're spending it wisely, and people are really benefiting from that. Yeah, that's yeah.
And you know, and that's what the aim is, and that's the other reason, you know, you can build houses and some of them are for sale, but then that means we've got more cash to invest back into the communities that need it. And that's kind of what it's all about. Is, I guess it feels a bit like Robin Hood-esque, but you know, we're here for supporting our communities.
We say that it's a business. It's a business. There's nothing wrong with making money. I like money. My kids love it.
It gives you choices, and I think that's what we're about, is being able to pass those choices and those opportunities on to as many people as we possibly can. So yeah.
Mate, you sound like you're very I don't mean you sound like you're passionate. You're obviously very passionate about it. So much so that Damian has decided just to. Don't know where he's gone. He's probably.
He'll be back in a sec.
He's probably fallen off his chair. He swings on his chair, and he's one of these who swings right back. And on you think any second now, and he just goes. But listen, I mean, the relationship we've built up with Trafford Housing, and you know, a big part of that is from Damian's side, because you know, in terms of the bid work and stuff like that, that's where his experience is. But it's genuinely been, I mean, up to now, a real pleasure. Working with people who've got a really good moral centre, mate. That's what we're about. As many fat smiles. There's the occasional frown, as you can imagine, but generally, more smiles and frowns. That's our tagline. More smiles.
Is that the name of the podcast, Paul?
It sounds like solicitors, doesn't it? More styles and frowns. Right, brilliant. Listen, thank you so much, mate, for making time for us.
Give me a shout if I can do anything to be useful. And cheers you both on. Think you fab.
Brilliant. Thank you, mate.
Great meeting you, and thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, have a great weekend.
Yeah, lovely to meet you both. Cheerio.
You
Take
too.
care, love.
Bye. See ya.
You're listening to That Great Mank Pod, Greater Manchester's community podcast. Top one, our kid.
Search for your soul. Still haven't found the goal. You could fill my heart's empty hole. You're leaving me here stone cold. I want you by my side, 'cause when I think of you, it's such a gorgeous sight. Still on the search for your soul. Still haven't found the goal. You could fill my heart's empty hole. Whoa. You're leaving me here stone cold. Times change and love is strange. It's driving me insane. Your soul could fill that hole. My heart can be rearranged. Still on the search for your soul.